Welcome to my program. I am Dr. Elif Çalık. We are welcoming you from London. Today I'm joined by Dr. Amineh, my lovely guest. She's academic. She's joining us from Cambridge. And I would love to welcome you, Dr. Amineh. Thank you so much for coming today and joining my program. We will mainly mention about mental health, and according to World Health Organization, 250,000 of children are suffering due to the mental health in this world, especially after pandemic. And our technology addictions, we will talk about environment and mainly how can we heal our soul by the help of nature and how it will affect our mental health. But first, I would love more about your amazing, beautiful career. Can you please more mention about your career and your lifestyle? Who is Dr. Amineh?
Thank you so much, Dr. Elif. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I am Dr. Amineh Hoti. I've written a couple of books. One is Gems and Jewels. It looks at almost 10 faith communities of South Asia. And I've done some work, again in South Asia, in social anthropology. That was my PhD for the University of Cambridge. I've worked a little bit with the United Nations on countering hate and preventing genocide. And I love to just look at humanity and different tribal groups and to understand them from their own perspectives, because they have so much to offer us. And I hope we will discuss some of those perspectives today.
Excellent. So our audience know a little bit more about you right now, so that's amazing, beautiful. You have also amazing health, success in your life. I know that you used to suffer because of your health a couple of years ago. So can you please mention about how did you survive and how did you heal yourself, your body and your mind? How did you help yourself after this cancer issue in your life?
Yes.
I'm sure it will be amazing, really, really role model for our audiences all around the world.
So, Elif, I was actually a director at the Higher Education Commission in Pakistan, and I was doing some very intense work, really traveling from one end of the country to another to find some really good scholars that would write for us or, do a little bit of work for our book, which was on global peace. And I traveled across the country and I came across such stunning architecture and such amazing communities that for me it was very inspiring. But when I came back home, I found that I was a little bit unwell. And I was immediately seen by doctors and discovered that I have a stage 1 cancer, breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And that was a bit of a shock because I was, sort of almost pulled out of my society.
Of course.
And taken to my parents who were living abroad in America. And I had the treatment with them. And of course, these things are so serious and it gives you a little bit of a jolt in life. It makes you rethink your life and your goals and how temporary life is really for human existence. And it's really dependent on the breath and how just that one breath that's stopped can really take everything away.
Yeah, that's why COVID-19 was a very good example for this.
Yes.
During COVID-19, we realized that even the breath we are taking is much more valuable than, richness or our luxury cars.
Yes, absolutely. And COVID-19, like you say, was such a good example of the temporariness of human life and the
Exactly.
fleeting of human life.
Yes.
Because so many people sadly passed away. But it also isolated human beings because we couldn't touch each other, we couldn't meet, we couldn't be social. And human beings are social creatures.
Exactly.
So a lot of the kids were locked up in their...
Not social animals, we are social creatures. You are so kind person.
And so a lot of these young people were locked up in their rooms with their little gadgets, with their little phones, and watching Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And that really kept them isolated.
Exactly. So after you realized that you are at the first stage, you didn't isolate yourself. You embrace nature. Actually, you embrace this cancer process. And then, what's your story next? Can you please?
Well, my story
Yes.
is this, Elif, that I was basically with my parents in America, and I had a very big book to edit. And this book was very, very, fat and thick. And it had been commissioned by someone, and it was based on 10 faith communities of South Asia. So my editor was in South Asia. I was in America, so we had 10 hours difference. And while I was doing my chemotherapy, I was editing these beautiful stories. And they were so inspiring to reread the stories of different faith communities, because they were talking about humanity.
Exactly.
They were talking about healing.
So, Dr. Amineh, this is the
Yes.
key point. While you are struggling, you are suffering, focusing on different things rather than focusing on I'm in a trouble, I'm sick. I think it changed your mood and it changed your mind. So that's beautiful example you were having. That's beautiful example for mental
Yes.
health. You were having chemotherapy, but you were reading books and you were editing books. So it means that you continue your own routine life. Yes.
Absolutely. It was
That's
such a
fantastic.
passion.
Yes.
Elif, what happened was, because I was doing this book and rereading the stories, it, like you rightly said, it totally diverted my mind. So for me, that pain or the injections or, the treatment became a pleasure, because it was a period of isolation where I was creative, I was editing, and I knew that I had to finish this book because I could live or I could not live. There was nothing to guarantee that there would be a full success. But luckily for current medicine and doctors and the support of my family, and the book was completed. And today when I look at it, I remember the struggle. So it's that period of creativity that gave me so much hope. And again, this was the perspective of so many people that I could, absorb and reread and engage with.
Wow, such an amazing life story, very encouraging life story. Thank you so much for sharing your life story with us. So, what is your suggestion for the people who has really, really stressful life and who have some mental health issues? For example, you mentioned about how passionately you continue your own life, your own passion. You didn't give up at that period. So, as an experienced person, as an academic, as a mother, as a female leader, what's your suggestion for the people who have some mental health problems and they are suffering because of some stressful lifestyle, financial issues and family issues? So can you please share some brilliant ideas with us?
So that's such a good question, Elif, that you've asked, because mental health is a big issue. And it's a big issue for a lot of people. And humanity, as human beings, we feel anxious, we feel worried, we feel what's going to happen tomorrow. There's so many sad things happening today in the world. There's genocide is happening, there is wars going on, there's poverty, there's immigration. In all this commotion in the world, it is natural for us, even watching television. We could come out feeling very stressed, and then engaging with our own family or the community. There's so much tension with growth and teenage years and adolescence and everything. And so in that period, like you rightly say, your focus is very important. So to go back to a sense of humanity, a sense of humility, open up your mind, read, learn, go back to nature, because human beings were born, if you see again and again, it says in all the faith communities that human beings were born from soil, from nature. And so if we're from nature and we will return to dust, dust we are, and to dust we return, as they say in Christianity, then naturally, Elif, we cannot be in a closed cement or in a room that's toxic for human existence. And what is beneficial for us is engaging with nature, going out, doing a bit of gardening, breathing in the air of trees. They say trees give out some chemicals that are very healing for cancer patients. And doing gardening, using your hand with, again, engaging with that soil and planting a seed is like writing a book. So you plant a seed and you see in a couple of weeks or months it grows into a little tree. And writing your book too for an author is like when I went through that process in my chemotherapy, and I was reading those stories and editing the book. And now that I see the book, it's like a big, beautiful oak tree.
Amazing.
And similarly with nature, the more you engage, the more you breathe in, apparently your mental health and your illness level is connected.
Perfect.
So the more you're tense and the more you're away from nature, the more you're liable to get diseases and illnesses. But the more you exercise, the more you go out into forests and engage with this beautiful green around you.
Exactly.
The more you heal.
It's a science, actually.
Yes.
Herbologists, herb is a big science.
Yes.
Nature is a big science, actually.
Yes.
So that's why people, if they are suffering from mental health, it's amazing to touch the nature and essential oils and eating healthy foods.
Yes.
It's very important for the people. So that's why nature right now asking question to us by the help of climate change.
Yes.
So my question as a renewable energy scientist to you today, I'm not going to talk about my career. I'm going to talk about your career and your suggestion, because you are very well experienced and I highly respect you. My background is, scientifically energy and renewable energy. So I always want to connect this scientific background with nature, because right now, as a fossil-based economies, unfortunately, we are destroying our Mother Earth and beautiful Earth by the help of these addictions, consumptions, and energy, the other things. So it's a really, really circular economy, and it's a really, really big circle. When we affect nature, when we harm nature, nature also affect our mental health, our brain, our body health. So how do you see this connection between climate change, mental health, and also nature, Dr.
Yes.
Amineh?
Again, another very good question, Elif. The world is interconnected, so we cannot live in isolation. And unfortunately, with the present media, social media, etc., our younger generation is in great danger of living in isolation, away from nature, away from engaging with what's happening with climate change, away from what's happening in the world today.
Yes.
And that really isolates them. It makes them depressed. It makes them suicidal. And all these things are, again, very dangerous for our upcoming generation, because we really need a generation that's more engaged, that's more aware, that's more active and proactive in healing the world. Because it is a world, although we may think that we are living in one part of the world and we are really not connected there. We are in the civilized world or in the free world or whatever words one may use, but in reality, everybody is connected. So if we truly care about the environment, about the earth, about other human beings, about other tribal groups, other groups, then we must embrace the whole world, not just ourselves and our ego. And I think, Elif, that some of these tribal communities, because I'm a social anthropologist and I studied some of these communities, they are very respectful of not just individuals and families and groups and tribal groups and the earth, but they love Mother Earth. They call the earth Mother Earth. Now, if you call someone your mother, you obviously love them, you respect them.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's why Buddhist people, they call Mother Earth, for example.
And Hindus.
Hindus,
the Hindu community also, the Sanatan Dharam.
Yes, and they are saying Ayurvedic lifestyle, yes?
Absolutely,
if they connect with herbs, nature.
Yes, and similarly with Islam.
Yes.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said repeatedly to respect a tree. He said, even if the world is ending, plant that seed. That shows that you care about the earth. You still want to nurture it. So the earth for a lot of communities is like a mother. She looks after you and you look after the earth.
Exactly.
It's that reciprocal relationship,
yes,
which is so important.
Exactly.
And which unfortunately we do not focus on, because in the current times there's all these wars are having such a counter effect, because dropping a bomb on a community doesn't just destroy human life, it destroys the crust of the earth. So you can imagine what damage it does to animals, to plants, to seeds, to everything around. And therefore human beings have got to act with much more responsibility, with much more love, with much more compassion, with much more, a feeling of humanity as a family, and be much more inclusive than we are, sadly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's amazing. So I would love to mention about how, Mother Earth nurturing. So Mother Earth is nurturing us in terms of not food only, but also mental health. When you see a duck or when you just watch the sky 1 hour, it is really, really healing your soul and your body and your energy, rather than building just, unfortunately, not aesthetic, let's say ugly articles. So how can we build our cities more nature-friendly, more eco-friendly? What's your suggestion for the Z generation? Because they will be our future leaders. How can we, future mayors, future leaders, so how can we connect mental health, eco-friendly cities, and also nature?
Well, again, Elif, it's all about consideration. It's about us, humanity, thinking out of the box. We cannot no longer do things the way we have, because that has not been successful. What we have to do is really step out of that box and that category. You do school in classrooms, you do a certain thing a certain way, you have parliament, you have, everything is in an enclosed environment. But how about taking your students out to the botanical gardens, or sitting under a tree, or maybe sitting by the river? So being a little more engaged with nature and talking about scientific facts. For example, when Sir Isaac Newton sat under a tree and the apple fell on his head in Cambridge, he then realized that gravity was a concept and it was real. So again, when you're teaching a class, you could teach under a tree, you could teach in the environment, in nature, and that's so much more. I remember doing that, in fact, as a child. I remember our teachers taking us out in South Asia, in Pakistan, and sitting under a tree. And for me, that was such a beautiful experience. I just felt, a sort of warmth of nature, as opposed to sitting in the classroom, where everybody is, in categories. There's certain kids sitting in front, certain sitting at the back, and it's not a sense of equality. Mm-hmm. But whereas when we sat outside, we sat in a row, in a circle. And that was very inclusive, with the teacher facing each child and engaging with each child. So again, engaging with the environment is so important, but also how architects build their cities is important. So one thing I appreciate very much in today, in fact, we were in London and we saw beautiful new buildings around King's Cross, but also a little bit of water flowing and some trees, and the old concept of the courtyard, which was really taken from Al-Andalus, because they had these buildings, but they always enclosed nature. So that's something, architects have got to revive, and I think they are aware of it. And there is some consciousness of the future and integrating the environment within the building.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Amineh. Today you enlighten us in terms of how we connect mental health with nature, architecture, science. Newton example, Isaac Newton example was very good example, because you are coming from Cambridge, yes. The same place where Newton explored the world and do scientific researches for the humanity. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I'm very delighted to host you today.
Thank you, Dr. Elif, for having me and for your excellent platforms.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Today I'm joined by Dr. Amineh from Cambridge University. We mentioned about mental health and how mental health affects our architecture, nature, body and spiritual health. Hope to meet you soon. Thank you so much.